we're back. Pick and ban is about to hit the show. It's 2-0 in favor of Dusty right now. It could be a clean sweep for Dusty if they keep this momentum. But if not, we need to look into the pick and ban. I said it before. I don't think it's about pick and ban. But if it is, we need to digest this a little bit further. I need your answers. Jamal, I'm going to look at you on this one because Hipran, you brought up the topic of they need to play what they're comfortable with. But then I look into Chrisberg, the Nami and the Lucian. This is something they've been using throughout the Aurora Open non-stop. So what else is comfortable if you can't wear the comfortable clothes you have?
Yeah, I know it's one of those very irritating
Danger.
moments where, especially as an analyst, I'd like to say there are other things to talk about besides draft, but it feels like a lot of the issues in gameplay, besides focusing away from how well
Yeah.
Dusty's been playing, a lot of the core issues Astralis have been running into have been because of some pretty fundamental draft errors. So it's one of these weird things where I don't necessarily think that they're losing because of the drafts. And the setup from the drafts just haven't really been placed in a manner which can give them solid ways to consistently step up to what has been a very strong Dusty so far. So we're back into pick and bans. We're on the same side. I want to see not the Nami Lucian this time around. I think it's too much to gamble when Dusty have already shown you a very easy and hard to deal with in lane, but also in team fights answer in the Lulu and Aphelios, unless you decide to ban one of those away. But I feel like it's not worth it. Go towards something else. See if Dusty will leave up the Varus or just go towards a different lane AD. Because to me, if you go that Nami again with the same sets of bans which are coming through at the moment, you are just going to get rolled over.
I mean, let's have a look at the actual bans we've seen. The Silas, the Graves obviously taken away. I don't expect to see Silas ever go over to Backland. I think that is just committing death on yourself. And then on the other side, you've got the Viego and the Sejuani. These are pretty standard bans here from Dusty. Crucially, we haven't seen the Yuumi come out from Dusty. And I was surprised to see Astralis ban that because ban the Akali. Yeah, obviously it was very, very strong for backline in the previous game, but we still got things like the LeBlanc up his sleeve as well. But crucially, Astralis to me kind of revealed that they don't want to play Yuumi. So unless they're willing to pull it out here, Dusty might not even ban the Yuumi going into this and may just look towards something else just to try and target a bit more. There's the Varus towards Chrisberg. And I think they're kind of called Astralis' bluff on this Yuumi now.
I mean, even if they do lock it in, right? So, all right, so okay.
Why did you do it?
No. It's fine because even if they lock it in now, to me, Dusty can go answers like Seraphine, for example, to try and match the scaling, go a death ball composition, and just try and throw hands with Astralis, to be honest with you, if that's what they want to go down. They don't have to, but I think the one thing it yields is a lot of early game agency from Kiba, right? And I feel like whenever we see a very successful Astralis, a lot of that comes from Kiba on roaming champions, on setup champions, moving up towards the mid lane, pairing up with Taxa, and then actually trying to snowball Senkux and provide more map pressure from that snowball. It's a lot more difficult to do that on a Yuumi, right? You're more about sort of mid to late game facilitation. So Dusty, they answer with the Seraphine because they know bottom lane is just going to be about scaling. They lock in one half of what should be a pretty meaty death ball composition, and now I expect Dusty to continue to build upon what is probably just going to be hard engage on top of this Yasuo.
The Diana is coming back. Oh no.
Oh yeah.
This is what I call a blender team, where you just throw everything into the blender and they just whirl you around and throw you to the grey screen. That's going to be the Sivir here for Astralis. Nope, they actually switch out to the Xayah. I like this Xayah. I think you need safety because, as Jamada's predicting, odds are this is going to be a death ball comp. I'm curious what they're going to pair up with the Seraphine. What they're going to look like. Are they just going to go more traditional support, or are we going to see something else there? I guess we'll find out, because obviously, I mean, Seraphine can also be the support itself, I guess. You could go traditional AD carry. So there's a bit of flexibility on that one. Carlson, though, just leaning into what Carlson's been playing for this entire series in the Aatrox here. And the thing is it feels like Curve has an answer for that. Maybe they don't pick something up here and they just hope that they can outban Curb in this next phase, but I just feel like Curb always will have something in his pocket.
And if you do this right now, they can just pick the jungler, ban away Taxer as they've done this previously, because again, two of those bans, or Kerberozo is running it down. He doesn't even care. This could be, and I heard production for bringing this up, because as soon as you type it or talk about it, it may come true, like the Yuumi, like Hipran did it. So it could be a Sona Seraphine on the bot side, and I hate production for pointing that out, because now it may come true. They have enough damage if they bring the Diana.
Hey, I mean, I would like to see something like that. Funnily enough, the only team that brought Dusty any kind of blood natives were a team that played Seraphine Sona. So we'll see if that's something they're willing to pull out. Astralis, though, read the room very much correctly, and they are going to remove away that Diana. I think beyond that, they're not really too scared about a lot of picks here. Very interesting Lecton ban going down. I feel like you have to remove away the Talia just for the sake of what you saw in game number 1. But options are still there, and I mean, with the Seraphine there, you're not even necessarily locked into having to go into an AP jungler, right? Like, you could go something like a Lilia if you really want to as Linsus here, but you could still go something like Lee Sin for setup, something that just provides a lot of synergy with Yasuo beyond that. It's going to be Senna Seraphine. I misspoke earlier and said Senna instead of Sona. Looks like I was potentially just correct. And that still is going to do kind of the exact same thing, right? Senna in Yuumi lanes kind of just gets to scale for free. She gets to farm stacks. And not only that, Yuumi just can't really answer that level of sustain and that much poke. And when you're pairing up with Seraphine, if you don't level 2 gank them and murder them, that's it. They're just going to scale for free, and they've got 2 bruisers in front of them in Yasuo and Darius to buff up to obscene amounts. Now, this would be a very smart answer, and I'm very disappointed. To be honest with you, because you're dealing with what's effectively going to be a composition that wants to just run at your face. Yeah, Cassio would have mauled them to death, but it looks like they want to go towards more comfort in the Azir, and they're playing with the idea of picking up this Lee Sin as well. Even if they do go towards Lee Sin, Linsus still has the opportunity to pick up a matchup where he's going to be relatively undisturbed, or potentially just look to win out in the 2v2s and the 3v3s.
Without the knockups, though, because we need more knockups for that Yasuo to go online, Prime.
Wukong is an option here for Linsus if they want to do that. I mean, obviously you do have double AD that way.
No, it won't.
The Wukong is a pretty safe bet to knock up multiple people. Obviously the Talia and the Diana are banned away. I'm trying to think about what other junglers are up, because the Sejuani's also banned. The Lee Sin's taken away. Gragas is an option, and that does give you AP as well. So Gragman actually might be alright, but I think they're probably going to go into this Wukong, and that just gives them big AoE knockup. So, you know, it's a very AD heavy team from Dusty. That is probably the major criticism I have right now. I mean, they have 4 AD
building armor on the team
damage, but yes,
to deal with
you're
it.
right.
Like
all of these on Aatrox, obviously.
Like but that's kind of it, right? When you're talking about these champions, they don't necessarily want to have to be stacking armor. They want other items to deal a bunch of damage. Obviously, Death Stance to be an exception for Aatrox, but like realistically, this Wukong pick as well kind of tears apart things like, you know, the ability to kind of press your R button as Chris Berg, dodge out on the Featherstorm, because he's got another knockup behind it waiting. So I think the fact that they actually go towards the Wukong instead of the Gragas kind of makes more sense, because you go from kind of a shotgun composition of, okay, did Gragas land his ability? No, we can no longer engage. Back away, to Lintus is in there, and even if Chris Berg dodges away from the first knockup, the second one, you have to flash away from it, or you just get last breath immediately.
So, question is on the table. Is this a clean sweep for Dusty? So, Dusty, Jamada, hip right?
Yeah, it's Dusty. It's 3-0.
It's Dusty.
It's a 3-0. They believe in this. It seems like the stars are not going higher than they did on the Aurora Open. Astralis reaches the final, and Dusty are looking to take this as a 3-0. But let's see at the end of the Rift if that's going to happen. And to take us to the Rift, it is Initialized, Trouble, and Nightmare. Take it away.
Sorry about that. I just got back from the kitchen, was just turning my blender on. Apparently Dusty are doing me a favor and setting that comp up for me, just happily. Lot of circles.
I wondering what the sound was in the kitchen there. I was wondering why there was a whirring of machinery.
Well, Drillja, just to say you're muted, I know you've been disgusted.
No. I was like, I was wondering where the whole blender thing was going.
Oh, well, we've got a lot of like melee carries backed up by a Senna and a Seraphine, which is just pure disgusting. Yep. I saw both of you in our little group chat off to the side, basically just being horrified at what's turning up there onto the Rift for Dusty. They've pulled out a comp here in what could be the final game of the night to earn them a back-to-back title here in the NLC. And it's disgusting, frankly. Ooh.
What is more disgusting is that when a Nautilus anchor is coming your way, you can see it. When a Nautilus ult is coming your way, you can see that too. Gragas Cask, Body Slam, all of them, you can see them. An invisible Monka that's ulting while dashing forward, you can't freaking see. So how do you dodge that? Because this is going to be the entryway for Buckland into the backline. Linces getting that perfect ultimate while he is dashing invisible. And I think this is going to be a huge problem because even though Chrisberg, we're chatting with them a little bit, is on his I want to win champion. That is Zaya. That is his I want to win this game champion and I'm going to 1v9 it. It's going to be very difficult to dodge these.
But I do think there is always the chance now in this kind of competition of an overdive. Now, Sam and I are very familiar with a region halfway around the world called the LJL, and there was a very famous series there where the underdogs beat quite a famous team over there by playing Zaya with Peel, but you're not going to get any Peel at level 1 on your blue buff.
Level 1, they go in. Taxa has to flash out of the jungle. Linces gets the blue buff and can walk away. Ghost burn from Kerberos, but Taxa, that is a rough start for the Lee Sin, and we were literally, before we saw the ridiculousness of the draft and decided to talk about that instead, about to talk about Dusty tweeting out about any % speed runs, and they go and pull that off in a game throughout.
Yeah, and they're not exactly waiting up for anyone, are they?
No.
Where do you go now if you're Taxer? Because I'm pretty sure, exactly.
Oh, no.
I'm pretty sure Linces is just gonna beeline your red buff. You're level 1 on that Lee Sin, you cannot 1v1. Bot lane is being traded on as well. Mid lane's being traded on as well. No one's coming to your aid unless you can somehow steal that with your smite. You're absolutely.
Well, you don't have smite. You need to steal it with the Q. Linces did the Warwick tech. He walked across mid lane doing the Warwick path. You don't take any tower shots. Linces, he's really putting Taxer in an awkward position. Even if it resets, it's fine for them.
Voxney has got that empowered ability, looking to see whether he has to flash away from the QE combo. Linces down low, taken. Taxa gets the smite. Taxa gets the kill. Taxa gets first blood. It all goes wrong. Any % first blood. This time,
you know what they say?
Astralis.
They say payback is a B with double E. Because that must have felt so good for Taxa right there. His patience and his resilience to stick around, wait for this fight to come back up, and of course, this is, like we said, the I want to win this game Chrisberg champion. He's on his Zaya. He's absolutely been demolishing that bot lane. They got the heal, they got the flash already. They might even be threatening right here. Stend has to stand far back before that Seraphine heal came through, but all in all, good stuff right there. Wait, there's a dive.
Misses it. Trying to get this one over. Linces is around, but now Voxney and Linces will look to trade on in. Chrisberg taken low. He's got nowhere to go, and he will surely fall. The support dies, but Linces looking for a final auto. Does have the flash available. Will he need to use it, or is he going to have one final warrior trickster to hop on forwards with a Nibbler strike?
But this bot side action is working out in favor of Astralis. That kill around that red buff for Taxa, getting the double buffs, making sure he can get back into the game, getting some gold, getting some XP, honestly puts Astralis onto a pretty good track. He's got double buffs at level 3 versus the Darius, but you don't win early levels versus that champion.
My god, he's dead! The pass is going to start coming through. Smites onto the Krugs, gets over the wall, flash, miss! Kerberos fails the flash, and now he's in a 2v1. Sonic Wave lands, but he's under turret, and Kerberos fails the flash.
What is going on? That was disaster from both sides. Taxer's like, I'm gonna dash through to this golem, but I do know that Darius is there, and I do know that Darius can 1v1 because he has the bleeds. Perfect. You know who's there? Carlson is there, but then Kerberos wants to flash, but he flashes onto a wall. But action is never ending because Stend is in the mid lane, Linces is in the top side jungle, Senkax is being pushed in, and they might be looking for a dive.
Oh, they're gonna try it, Kerberos.
Let's see live.
Kerberos getting trained on, has no mana, being ignited. Work! Carlson gets the solo kill. There's no time to chill. None at all.
I mean, like, on the dawn of the third game, look to the top lane, I guess. Carlson had a pretty good performance in that second game on the Aatrox again. Very nearly saw Astralis through to a team fighting victory. We haven't even got towards those yet. We're 5 minutes in, folks. You just have to enjoy the random skirmishes around the map. Not entirely sure why we're fighting, but we are, and I'm certainly enjoying it. But Dusty, for the first time in a very long time, struggling in the early game.
Macklin is going to find Taxa, who has been doing his very best to come back into this game after the level 1. Made his life oh so difficult. Has to burn the flash there. The lane gank works out. And before this game, we were going to set some stakes. We were going to say, look, Astralis looking for the reverse sweep, looking to find an early game where they're not completely out of it, where maybe they can find an angle to come back in and find their first damn LoL title ever, whatever league they're looking at. And then we ended up with this utter bloodbath and madness. And maybe this is exactly what they need, because honestly, Linces hasn't had the same impact because he died around the red buff, one of the second invade.
Sure, on the other hand, though, I was like, you know what? Twitch points are great. And you know what they're great at Gamba. So if we do have any mods in the chat, is Taxer gonna take any creeps off his own jungle, or is Linces gonna keep stealing them all? Because even though Linces has not had the same impact, as we mentioned, as in the previous game, he has consistently been stealing Taxer's jungle, which means that Taxer heavily relies on that bot quadrant with Chrisberg and Kiba to help them get in and steal some back. If that's not gonna happen, then he's in very big trouble. Because as you can see, Linces right now is about two camps. There you go.
There we go.
He's about 2 camps up. He has his entire bot quadrant minus the blue buff, and his top side is about to spawn as well. So I think he's in a pretty good position right here to actually use that Monka as a carry later on, which is very fitting for his playstyle as a player.
Yeah, so, we've had a couple of chats in this series about how, you have a couple of stages to beating Dusty and the way they've been playing this tournament, because, you have to overcome their early game aggression. Astralis, well, first 7 minutes, they are actually giving it much better than they're kind of receiving, I suppose, at this point from really Linces, really making them take hard decisions. But Astralis are, they're keeping even in that front, but they have to keep this up. Otherwise, Astralis, they're very much trouble.
Finds a solo. Beautiful stuff. Now in a 1v2, Linces has flash. May need to use it. Goes over the wall. Blue buff secured, but at what damn cost? Carlson's Aatrox 2-0.
Yeah, so about that. I think Astralis right here know the drill by now. Dusty are going to be living rent-free inside their jungle, right? The further you put Taxa behind, the better it is for Wukong, because Wukong can very much easily set up fights later on, whilst Taxa on the Lee Sin, and any Lee Sin has to look for these special angles for the kicks to create opportunities in the teamfights later on, which is much more difficult. Wukong, much more straightforward. So they know that the further behind you set that Lee Sin, the easier it will be for you to play these fights on the Wukong, but that's not the case, because Carlson is so strong on the top side of the map. Chrisberg is so strong on the bot side of the map, and Backland right now is stuck in a melee versus ranged matchup that he's actually struggling in. So Linces cannot overextend, he cannot keep stealing, and he needs to be very wary of where the lanes are pushing.
That is exactly what I was going to say when you started off that point. It's like, if you don't cover that, I'm definitely going to start running on that point as well, because you can't.
Same page, guys.
When you're trying to deal with jungle matchups, when you're trying to put a jungler behind, you have to deal with the priority lanes first. With all of these lanes, having the push, having the ability to control a side of the map, makes it very hard to try and interrupt the jungler as well. Now, you don't have the Zaya to worry about at this fight, so Dusty, finding themselves towards Herald, looks like they're going to take that one uncontested.
Look, that's where Kiba is as well. He's not moved, so it is a 2v none in this bot side, which means it should be Dusty's Herald to take. This will be a third plate coming through for this Zaya. Chrisberg does love that champion when you get a hold of it. Denvoxley now here as well. Sten following over, throwing down that last chapter, but the encore comes through, trying to turn this one around. Exhaust comes through. Denvoxley so low, has to flash out the feathers. Chrisberg pulls him straight back through and shreds the songstress down. She's taken out, and a wonderful 2v2 kill on the bot lane.
Oh yeah, so about those problems in the lanes again, Chrisberg down on the bot side of the map, you can try and mess with the jungle all you want, but this Zaya is now a problem. Great game 1, struggled in game 2, Chrisberg making a statement in game 3.
I don't know if you'd really want it. 2 levels down for Linces, 1 level down for Kerberos. They don't have a ghost to keep running at him, and Carlson does have that ignite, which means he does have competitive bonus stats right there from that combat summoner. Linces wants to go.
Oh my god, he's just not going. Wait for it, wait for it. Here we are.
I'm waiting, Sam. I'm waiting.
No, so am I. We're all waiting.
Carlson is too. Carlson is too. I feel like this is so clever from Carlson. He knows that he's getting debated because Kerberos is playing behind enemy lines. Since when does Kerberos play behind enemy lines? Kerberos plays in your face on that Darius.
Third reset stopped. Linces just refuses to give up. He wants this. Wants to open an account. Carlson finally runs forward. The Infernal Chains are gone down. The World Ender now out. Has got Ignite. Yet to use it. Needs to find something. Cyclone 2 popped down. Got it pulled back with the Apprehend. Looking for an Execute. Doesn't quite die. But the Clone Wall helps shut down to Linces. And the time was not wasted, at least.
Yeah, and now, Carlson, I want to see what's happening with this top lane wave state. Of course, you don't have a teleport on the Aatrox. Lince sticks around to put that wave in. You have a Herald. You can shove in this wave, deny 10 or so minions to that tower, take a load of plates. You're not even forced to put down this Herald here. When you use Warrior's Trickster, you get to have the clone hitting the tower as well. It gives your Q onto the tower. Huge amounts of damage from both of these champions. They're going to take a lot here.
Taxa turns up, tries to clear at best the wave they can. 4 plates go down, not quite the whole tower, though. Bot side, I think it's a pretty similar story. Still got 1 plate remaining. Leaves this game pretty damn close. 400 gold lead for Astralis. First time we've really seen this the whole damn series, and they've got themselves a game state where it's not just one carry. You've got a scary Aatrox, you've got a scary Xayah, and Georgia. I feel like maybe we might actually have a little bit more of a competitive game, especially if they can make this gank onto Kerberos an effective option.
Looks like this because Astralis have more than one lane that's actually doing well for the very first time. Carlson's doing great in the top lane. Crispec actually destroying that lane pretty much single-handedly, right? Because you don't have a second actual body to get that CC down with the Yuumi. So Crispec has been navigating that lane super freaking well. Got the entire tower and they're diving.
Throw down that final chapter. Encore comes through, but it's immune with that use of the Feather Storm. Crispberg and Kiba are just popping off down here. So aggressive. And they get another.
And now this is going to be, well, I mean, if it wasn't an issue in the laning phase, we talked about how, you know, we were rudely interrupted by a level 1 invade from Linces and crew by Dusty, but the point right from the start of the game we're bringing up is actually, you know, there is always the problem that Dusty can overdive into a Xayah Yuumi, and as much as you can get on top of them, see what's happening on this top side.
Wait, what?
Not much. Okay,
Wait,
again, trying to rudely... Linces has a problem with us mentioning the problems he's going to have specifically in team fights later on, because you try doing that onto a Xayah and a Yuumi who's got multiple kills, huge amounts of turret plates, and a Yuumi backing them up, you are going to really struggle to shut that carry down. Dusty going to have a difficult port of call to try and take down the carries of Astralis later on.
Carlson burned the ultimate the last time around. There's the flash. The ignite's down as well. Looking to try and chase now. Good double knockup.
Crispberg
is here with Kiba. Now a 4v2. They must extricate themselves. Kerberos, so much danger. Gets an apprehend, but is exhausted. Healing back up. Stend is here now as well. But they just don't have enough. Astralis are there quicker, earlier, and with more firepower, they get a hold of the Darius.
But this is so problematic because on one hand side, you see very clearly who the carry is. But on the other hand side for Dusty, especially when teams have that Seraphine Senna, the power of the comp is a little bit hidden, and it also comes much later on when these two champions have actually scaled into the late game. The shielding, the healing, the peeling, the extra room that the Senna Seraphine provide with you. But someone needs to carry for these two champions to actually provide the utility. Ow. And so far, for the set of Dusty, I'm sorry, but I do not clearly see the carry. Backland moves forward. He gets absolutely destroyed. Whilst for Astralis, it's very clear. Crispec is 1v9 right now.
Yeah, and, you know, just in that short trade there, we're, again, going to see this in even larger kind of stake scenarios as the game goes on. Now, if Crispec has ult, that one ult can turn the fight by itself, because once Wukong is in the fight, he's in. Once Yasuo is in the fight, he's in. Same with Darius as well. If Dusty do not hit the knockout blow like that at the start of the fight, that's it. The Xayah gets to disengage and do so much damage. Dusty have to approach these fights so differently.
Throw down the ultimate. They're going to try and keep themselves alive with the Curse of the Black Mist. Backland has to flash, though. And that's a big...
Crispberg is on a mission. This guy is just not willing to lose this game.
Guys, when Xayah got locked in, I've known Crispec since 2019. I started giggling to myself because, you know, the Seavers got thrown out. Of course, Seaver Yuumi is so powerful. Ezreal's whatever you want. But, like, Xayah is the I am not losing champion. He's proving it right here. He has dominated 2 lanes back-to-back. Bot lane, took the tower, left, went top lane. He's diving, he's taking summoners, he's taking names, he's taking towers, he's taking everything pretty much. Now, you transfer him towards that mid lane, play for the dragon fight. You have a super strong Xayah right now, almost 2 items. No one has anywhere near 2 items in this game.
Absolutely, and compare this to the Lucian last game, which was taken completely out of the game for so damn long. So much more confident, so much more powerful. So Luden's now on Kiba as well, so he's going to be very obnoxious with the poke coming out on the queue. And we've already talked about the issues with Dusty's comp. It's behind, so that room for execution misplay just isn't there, because if you're going in, you're staying in, you're trying to heal your way through it, and Astralis have a lot of tools to make that a very dangerous idea between the Aatrox, between the Xayah, backed up by the Yuumi, with the Lee Sin disengaged, with the Azir disengaged, now with a second dragon to their name as well. It's not even like there's a soul threat on the table for the side of Dusty.
And that's where I was going to draw my eye next, because Astralis can start increasing the pace of this game. It's going to be an Infernal Rift, which makes it, of course, the geography changes a little bit with that. Hard to fight in choke points. There are going to be bonuses and negatives to both these teams for that one. Dusty trying to respond with a Herald. Taxel here for the steal, potentially.
Backland gets knocked out of the blast cone! Carlson! Going to find that beautiful kill. Gets a flash to boot from Linsus, who does at least get the Herald. But Carlson, another man on a mission, another carry. Carlson and Chrisberg online in the same game. Say it ain't so.
Wow, and I think so far that the tale of the series has been how Dusty are pretty much destroying Astralis from very early on. And what is that the very early on? Laning phase, the way you treat your wave, the way you take trades, they were superior for 2 games straight. Astralis, when it came to teamfights, Dusty was superior. They were splitting them. They were picking out the key target. Right here, Dusty are playing on the back foot. And I think this is where champions are also made of, right? When you learn how to play from the back foot, when you start crawling back in, you have a lot of skill in your team. And they do. Yasuo with 3 items, so deadly. Seraphine, Senna. That Senna's going to start slowly but surely dealing damage. It's just how far can you fall to the point where it's not comebackable anymore and Astralis can open your base, because they have a lot of scaling as well. Somebody that we haven't even counted into the equation is Senkax, because he hasn't had to have a say yet. Everyone else is just running with the game.
You know, we had that Senna soul check-in just then. You know, it's heading up to around about that 50 mark, but hasn't really been able to have free reign of this game so far. And the Senna is not going to have the same ability to fight from the backline in the same way that this incredibly strong Xayah Yuumi does. They are in such a worse position than Chrisberg is right now.
They really are. And again, a brief reminder. Reverse sweeps are definitely a known phenomenon in Astralis. This would be step 1 into making that happen. A little reminder as well. Tweet thrown out by the Dusty account found by Nymera in the pregame, which says, please don't disturb us. Currently doing an Aurora Open speedrun any percent. We alluded to it earlier in the game. I think it was time to bring that one back out, because I think Astralis might have taken that one personally.
I wonder what the last reverse sweep happened in NLC.
Right.
Was it Dusty that won in a reverse sweep? Oh, did they win in a reverse sweep? How poetic in the most cruel way possible would it be that Dusty, on the brink of winning their back-to-back championship, tweeted out something like that and then got slapped by Astralis with this kind of response? Fight is brewing, his ears coming down, the whole party's coming to play.
Trouble's right. Is indeed the right word is what we're going for, as I lose my words, and Backlund is about to lose his life, you think. Gets a stop punch out of Senkax, but nothing more. Cannot dance around enough on the other side. My God. Chrisberg deletes the monkey.
All right, guys, I've got you the answer right here. So, because our mods are absolutely smurfing, they did put it in the chat.
They did!
Just steal all of Tax's jungle farm. The answer was ban Yuumi. You guys are freaking terrible at replying to questions, but that was a good answer.
They're not wrong. The Yuumi has been very potent alongside this Xayah.
It wasn't any right question, but it wasn't a wrong one either. I mean, answer.
Right.
There are no stupid answers, just stupid questions. Or something
Stupid
like that. I don't know
champions.
about that. Either way,
Yes,
there are definitely
very
stupid
so.
champions. One of them is a cat on a book. Kiba is definitely having a very happy time on that champion. They're 1-0-4, building up towards the, I think it's going to be a Putrefy second. Typically tends to be that from Yuumi. You get yourself a lot of AP, a lot of cooldown reduction between that and the Ludens. And, Stend, I was wondering if a flash was going to be committed flash for flash, but not feeling that just there, because the dragon is coming up in a minute. No sense in delaying their setup and potentially throwing things away. And, you know, in the other games in Aurora Open against Dusty, again, it has come down to a point you think, you just have to just see if you can out-team fight Dusty, and the answer's been no for the entirety of the tournament. They have lost a single game the entire tournament. That was the Natives. They almost lost another game to them, but Astralis on the brink of forcing Dusty into their second game loss of the whole tournament, and they're actually doing that by denying Dusty any platform to team fight off in the first place. They're slaughtering them before they can even get to the 5v5s.
30 seconds until an Infernal Drake spawns. That will be sole point for Astralis. The Herald was about to time out, so had to be someone in mid lane. Gets distracted by Chrisberg, so unlikely to get a charge. Big deal. I will point out that now Dusty have at least got themselves mythic items, and largely, with the exception of Chrisberg, second items haven't been complete yet. That might mean this is the one and only chance where they're at least vaguely near parity.
But how do you enter this river? You have no vision. Your Yasuo is not even there.
Linces has a flank.
Linces has a flank, but everyone is so super squishy right now from the side of Dusty that how do you enter through a choke point where there's these Zaya feathers literally destroying you? Can't he steal at least the dragon?
A dream does not get the dragon, looking for a cyclone. Where's the follow-up? They're looking for a big ult. Has yet to be found. Chrisberg now throws down the ultimate. They do get the Aatrox. The encore afterwards is good, but so is that Emperor's Divide. Taxa bleeding out. Backer goes in. Dusty are winning the fight. Keeper can't get in. He's gone. Now Taxa and Chrisberg need to run. Oh no is exactly the right words. You can't out-team fight Dusty.
And Backlund gets into the backline. It is a flank from Linces. It is a miraculous encore from Dunvoxner. And this Zaya, this battle master of a champion with so much gold, is taken out of the equation. The answer always comes down to, can you out-team fight Dusty? And the answer, even in this game, is no around that dragon.
Hold on, Taxa hasn't said his last word, though.
Steal on the Baron, steal on the Baron. Can he make it work? Watch for the Q, watch for the attempt, and he gets it! He steals the Baron!
Taxer, he got level 1 in his jungle and he pulls the miraculous still 4 of his teammates alive and they're all running towards that river.
Backlund now trying to but here's Chrisberg, the Zaya, looking for some vengeance, throws down the feathers, now needs to hop on in. The flow is popped. Kerberos coming forward, they've got in! Flash for that decimate, double apprehend! They've gone too far! They get both of them!
What a weird series of plays! A teamfighter dragon, which Astralis had all the pieces in place to deny. They had the perfect entry into the river. They should have denied Dusty any sort of angle, but they don't manage to do that. The Wukong gets into the backline, and then everything gets crazy after that point, and Dusty thrive in the madness.
And I'm like, where do you find the damage from? You've got just a shield bow on that Yasuo, and Backlund manages to do the damage. That ultimate from Seraphine keeps everyone in the same position, which means the follow-up comes through from the Yasuo dashes. And honestly, you cannot keep getting away with these fights. That was a fight Dusty took with 4,000 gold deficit. Their pockets were absolutely empty. Taxa had one last word right here. Mind you, every single teammate of his is alive. So that steal was not only miraculous, but can stall you the game or help you push towers further. But Astralis overcommit, they overextend, and they get shut down again.
No, the fact that they end up losing their 2 carries right after they get the Baron means that they are not going to be able to utilize this Baron to its full extent. Yeah, you are going to have the Yuumi alive and the Aatrox alive with that buff, which means, yes, you can have a couple of lanes buffed up with it, but Astralis, they have to reset inopportunely after that Baron, and while they do keep themselves a gold lead and they keep themselves on soul point as well, this game is still looking a lot closer than it had any right to. We were, what, 10 kills to do? Something like that? Dusty clawing back that gold, getting into at least a semblance of relevance where before Astralis felt like they were choking out the game.
And one of the most important things is that Backline is now super close to his Infinity Edge. When we saw that fight happen, that replay, he just had a shield bow, nothing else. Now he's very close to his Infinity Edge. He's got the seal as well. He's gonna get that full crit. Hold on, Carlson.
Taken up with the last
That's another
breath,
Baron gone.
dropped out. Baron number 3 falls alongside, of course, Taxa earlier on. It is just Kiba now who has that buff. They've only really managed to get themselves a tier 2. They are at soul point, though. Remember that. A minute and a half until they could claim the soul. But right now, Dusty are more than able to begin contesting. How have they done it again?
I was just beginning to say how, like, the Yasuo is getting more items. If we can actually see how much gold maybe he has in his pockets right now, observers. He's not close to Infinity Edge, but he's close-ish. He's about 1 K. The next dragon is going to come up. He's not going to have the Infinity Edge, unluckily for Dusty. But look at the Senna inventory. When we're talking about that Senna, she had a serrated Dirk in her inventory. Now it's a full Eclipse. It's an Umbral Glaive. It is 2 items, 2.5 for the Seraphine as well. The shielding, the healing, the AP damage coming through is going to be huge. Plus that Darius with the Sterak's is going to be able to tank in that front line. So if Dusty can manage to actually get access into this river and pull one of their miraculous fights, they stop Soul from going to Astralis.
And after the NLC finals of summer, we actually had a lot of chance to chat to the Dusty players, and then Voxney had a large amount of things to say about the Seraphine and how it is very hard to outscale a Seraphine, even if you're against an AD carry. That was one of their games that they had against X7 in the finals, and in this game, yeah, you're starting to get to the point where the Seraphine, if you get enough skills down, suddenly you're looking like you have a lot of pass-through damage across the Astralis squad.
Keep your eyes on that. Keep your thoughts on that, because this fight may well determine
That's scary.
everything. They need to make it happen. Lince is looking for another flank. This time, Carlson wards it. Crisper gets a chunk onto backline, but it's already beginning to be healed back up.
I was about to
Teleport
say.
now coming through to get on over. Needs to reposition.
Yes, his positioning was absolutely terrible right there, because if you get shuffled in from the Azir, you're really stuck in a choke point. You need to visit, you need to be grouped up with your team, so you have to teleport out.
Lince finds Crisberg! He's dead! He's down! Kibo is dead as well! The cat is skinned and straight on out of the bag, and Dusty are claiming it! Gold galore! Dragon to boot! Surely there's no smite! There's no hope, and Dusty are right back in the game! The 80% speedrun is still damn on!
There are there's more than one way to skin a cat, but why did you change the equation when you can do it the same way? A Wukong over the wall to get the flank is insanely effective at getting on top of the carries.
And we talked about how difficult it is to actually evade an invisible dash, because the second he's on you, all he has to do is press R, you get the knockup, but the slow right there also from Den Voxne. You see Crispec playing back and forth, you don't see it! He is through the wall and insta-ult, you do not see it, and you die on the double knockup into that Seraphine ult. There is no chance for reaction for Crispec right there, and it was that one thing that we mentioned at the very early, is like, what's your setup when you're playing Yasuo? It is that Wukong. He gets in invisible. You have 0 seconds for reflexes.
Linces is very good at League of Legends. This guy is just a star. You know, looking back, you know, in summer, I think that Backlund was my MVP for the league. I think at this point, through Aurora Open and through EMS as well, I think it's been Linces. This player has gone from strength to strength. Keep your eyes on this jungler.
What a prodigy he is proving to be. What a monster he has been across this series. The Talir in game 1, 10 kills, 12 assists. Game 2, that Lee Sin getting things rolling. This game, when everything seemed to be falling apart after some of the invades didn't quite work out, he finds 2 engages just like that. And now they've got a Baron alive. Astralis are in position, but they've got to be so afraid. Crisberg has gone from, what, 4-1 to 5-4? That's so many deaths now in a row. Where Linces gets into the Dawning Shadow Encore combo. Jungler is down, and now it's a 4v5. But what about the turnaround?
Carlson.
It's pretty damn good. Kerberos very low. Carlson chunking out, but he has been hit by some Leandri's Torment. And Fox, they pull back! Has to flash. Will stay alive for now, but even in the 4v5, Astralis is still deadly, still dangerous.
Still deadly dangerous, but they have lost the jungler, and your objective right here on the map is going to be the Baron. So unless you want to start contesting it without a jungler, you need to try and make a pick. They're trying to get onto Dusty, but again, the healing, the shielding, all of this utility coming in from the Sinner Seraphine. Not only is they keeping them alive, but it's keeping Astralis at arm's length as well. Now this tower going down by Senkax might buy them some time, which means that the mid wave is going to be consistently pushing into Dusty, and Astralis might even try to stop this.
They are, but what happens this time is that you don't have the Wukong off for the setup. Linces just hopping in, hopping out, checking with his own body for that. You don't have a teleport on the Darius either. There's no easy way to get into the pit, but Astralis, without the Azir there for the extra Baron damage, not able to force the issue just yet, and this will buy time for the Cyclone to come off cooldown.
Thing is, if you back right here, Astralis, okay, I thought Astralis were gonna try to pull a trick where they allowed Dusty to think that they're done with it, and they wait around because Taxa was just on his way back towards that river, so you can pull it off really quickly because you have the Zaya and Azir damage, but it's not going to be the case. I think Astralis have fought really hard to be at this position, only 1,000 gold difference between the two teams. This is the most competitive game they have showed in this series versus the undisputably strongest team we have on the NLC, and they can't just throw it on a Baron 50-50.
So we've been talking a lot about biding time, talked about how, you know, Dusty get back into the game. Well, they're back into the game. They have Infinity Edge on Yasuo. They got 3 items with the Death Cap on Den Voxner as well. Dusty have themselves a gold lead when they were in a deficit for the first time this entire series. They are online, they're ready to fight, and they keep looking for these.
Oh my god, taking very low. There's the final chapter, not quite rooted. There's the clone that's rooted on the other side for Lince's. Backland's shield bow, though, is popped down to 25% HP. Watch for the attacks are getting in, but he's taken out, knocked up, knocked down. They're going to try and fly on in the feathers. Make sure the Seraphine dies, but already last breath comes through. Backland's down to the GA. Chrisberg is still just about alive. Stan trying to hold people alive as well. Kerberos is now he wasn't for the whole fight. Carlson trying to make what happened. Chrisberg flashes forward. Can't get into the black mist. Kerberos looking for a decimate over the wall, and Chrisberg has no flash, no cleanse. Well, he has a cleanse. But no stopwatch, I don't think. Needs to get to this blast cone. Pull back with the apprehend. Linces to the other side. Kills off the Xayah. 4 for 2. Dusty win another damn fight.
That was a 4 versus 5. That Dusty won right there. That was a 4 versus 5. And it wasn't even a front to back. They caught the Seraphine in the middle of this fight. They took the Seraphine out first. And it still worked. Take it away. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And the thing is, like, these fights have been evolving in different ways. The first couple of fights which Dusty were winning were when they got the 2-for-1 special on the Yuumi carry. They get the huge Yasuo combo, kill the Yuumi at the same time, and that meant actually the Xayah was dealable. You can kind of just about manage to get them, even if the Yuumi was on someone else. If you catch the Xayah themselves, hell yeah, great fight. But as you can see in this one, Chrisberg, with all the items in the world, even in the 5v4, struggled to get the job done. Now, they're trying to go back towards this Baron, but then Voxner, oh, he's caught out.
They're trying to make it happen. This could be the moment. This could be the pick. This could be the turnaround. Backland now trying to trade onto Taxa, looking for punishment back, taking so much damage he is. Goes Golden. The Sonic Wave was stopped. Over the wall goes Linces trying to get to the back of this pit. Will go down. Now what about Carlson with Kiba on the back of him? Shuffled backwards. Stend takes a tower. Linces dies. Dragon falls to Kerberos on the other side, but the junglers being dead means no smite. And it's just the damage from whichever team can get it. I believe Astralis should secure it. They do.
I mean, I don't know. This is just been, I'm just sat here like, where do you even go from that? Because Astralis are now choosing to go for the more pick-based gameplay. They managed to find Dusty split across the map. They see Dragon and Baron up at the same time. They say, okay, you know, we're on Soul Point, Dusty on. They don't have the option of trading up by taking Dragon instead of the Baron. They forced Dusty to make that decision. And yes, Dusty now have those 2 dragons, but they have the Baron to use. And it's then Voxner, not for the first time this series. Heck, he did this a lot in spring as well, where he's walked up. Sorry, no, that wasn't it back in spring, but either way. But then Voxner walks up and on a carry, which has no right to be face checking these objectives, is the first one caught out. That's a little worrying for Dusty.
I don't know what, that was my favorite part of the broadcast, because both me and Alex were sitting there with our hands like right next to like shrugging, and we're like,
so what do you say?
Now what? Okay, so this is a very competitive game between the two, because for Astralis, the code name right here is make picks, get something done. Oh no.
Speaking of making picks, he's taken down, not quite out.
That's
the G will keep him alive. Big moment. They've thrown some ultimates out as well. The final chapter, the kick, the world ender from Carlson as well. 3 ultimates in trade for 2. But what about the shove in from the Baron afterwards? It doesn't stop the shove right now. Linces is shoving in the mid lane though, to prevent that being another option. The bot lane wave isn't really there either. So now it's going to be a 4v5. Rooted is Taxa. Encore just goes wide. Kerberos pretty low on the other side. Doesn't have got a flash. Does use it. Gets on out as Chrisberg started hunting for him. Linces continuing
But they've delayed. They've delayed. You've got the clone to attack the towers. We saw them use this in the top lane earlier for the first Herald. But Wukong is one of the best tower destroyers in the game. Linces doing the rarely seen split push on junglers. Manages to get a cross-map trade for Dusty in the mid lane.
I think this is so important, because if we're looking at setups right here for Yasuo, Linces is the only setup. Unless you can get a shove in from Kerberos, which by the way is being really peeled off of this fight, so it's really difficult to actually use it on a very crucial member in the backline, someone like Chrisberg. You need Linces to have ult. Because Linces didn't have ult, means that he's not necessarily too useful to get Yasuo in. And if he doesn't have his ult, he cannot engage for his team. Who can though is Taxer, and they're looking at
gonna get the seismic shot of the Emperor's Divide away. Here come the rest of Dusty though. Sonic Wave lands, so nothing more is found.
And for the first time, it feels like it's not Dusty winning out and out on the macro, because even in earlier games in this series, the games against Riddle, when they were losing some of these fights, maybe dealing with some very high scaling champions, Dusty was still getting the better of the map, and they're finding something here. They're finding different things, and they're keeping themselves in the game, but it's still give and take from both teams. I'm struggling to make sense of the entirety of this game, though, because the thought processes are really changing quite rapidly. Dusty, in particular, making a lot of split-second decisions to go to another lane, collapse on this area of the map, look for this pick, look for that, and feels like one mistake could genuinely decide this game. Chrisberg, he gets engaged on
mistake, he gets rooted! Throws out the ultimate, but here goes Linsus! Last breath! Last fight! They get everything they could ever ask for. No GA on Aatrox, so he's dead as well. Senkux turns up to try and find something, anything, but the Emperor's empire crumbles before it could even be formed. Dusty hold on to their dynasty. They find a second title, and they find the pick on the Xayah.
Emperor's Divide, Emperor divided. Here lies Ozymandias of the mid lane. Senkux can do nothing but watch Dusty take the title.
Oh my god, Dusty, isn't that poetic? Finally, someone with the back-to-back. Take it away, Sam.
Here you stand, everybody watching from home. Take your hats off, bow down, and praise them. Dusty find another. 2 titles in a row in as many damn months. What a team, what a championship, and what a fashion to win another title in.
And it's been such an exciting road for Dusty, and it's been so entertaining to watch. You know, this was the team that halfway through Summer Split hadn't beat anyone at the top of the table. It took them beating Astralis to actually finally get that win against a top table team back in halfway through summer. And that was when their run started. They still had some knocks on the shoulder after that point, but they climbed and they kept climbing. And now, the end of the year, the last NLC match for Div 1 teams, they've reached the summit in a rare moment of like real accomplishment. 2 titles back to back, and I couldn't be prouder of them.
I'm gonna take it even deeper because I've been following Dusty's journey right here. The only Icelandic organizations that we've had from the beginning that the NLC was formed, and they were facing relegations almost every single season. And they put in a team of misfits, a team that almost no other ERL team wanted, and they made it work. I want to take my hat off to the players for looking like a proper formed team. I want to take my hat off to Zen, who's been behind both the rosters in spring and in summer and has made both look so freaking strong. Congratulations to the team, congratulations to the players, congratulations to the staff behind. Very well deserved 2 titles.
Commiserations on the hand to Astralis. It's been a rough year. We had so many expectations at the beginning of it, and they never quite managed to make it work. That roster stayed together for this Aurora Cup. They made it all the way to finals. They did it in extravagant fashion. An incredible 5-game series against JDXL that saw them come to the finals. And yes, it was a 0-3, but that last game, it's going to hurt. It's going to feel rough, but they should go home proud. They got to the mountain, even if it was Dusty who planted another flag at the top. That does mean from myself, from Trouble, from Nymera. That's all from us for the evening, but it does mean you've got a desk and a little bit of celebration to go through. So I'll hand it over to them to take it away from here.
Are we celebrating? So there you go. It's 3-0 in favor of Dusty to wrap up another open, clean sweep. But let's be honest, the last game was not that clean, and Astralis started with all they needed. The perfect story was building up, Hiprine.
Yeah, I mean, that game, I thought after... It looked like Dusty might have been having a little bit too much fun at the beginning of that game, and I was very much like, okay, we're going to game 4. Chrisberg looked fed. We've been hyping Chrisberg up as like, you know, he is typically the carry for Astralis. Like, he really steps up as a late game insurance. Got fed early on the Xayah, had a Yuumi in his pocket as well. And like, it really came down to that final fight where, as much as I want to be critical of Den Voxney, because I think he made one too many mistakes in that game, he found Chrisberg and forced him to panic ult, which lined Linces up for the easiest ult of his life, followed up by Backland, and then that game just went away from them. But Astralis, they are going to be probably quite heartbroken because that was the game. That was the game where they finally had found their opening, had found their opportunity, and it still wasn't enough versus Dusty.
We're going really fast right now. We need to slow down so we can look at replays and all that. But
Yeah.
that's the gist of the game. Yeah, obviously, Jamada. But the Yumi with the Zaya, it almost worked out. It seemed like Astralis had it in the bag until one specific team fight that probably I need your eyes to guide me through this one.
Yeah, I mean, there were quite a few team fights in this game that, went the way of Dusty, which when you looked at it at surface value, you would think, yeah, this should probably be Astralis winning. But I think that's just the power of compositions like this. And I've been very fortunate to have watched a lot of games, specifically from natives in Division 2, who draft a lot of these, for lack of a better way of putting it, just straight up fist fight comps with like 2 enchanters and then 3 bruisers, right? And I think Dusty kind of just exhibited why this kind of draft can be so powerful. And Astralis just didn't really have much of a leg to stand on. So many times was it Lintus finding massive Olmas to set up Barklands for immediate and easy target access. And so many times was then Voxnay, despite, what was a very lackluster laning phase and quite a few positional errors throughout the game, found so many strong encores. And even though I believe Taxa steals this one away, I think the fact that Dusty were able to put themselves in a position where a Baron was even on the table, given how disastrous the early game was, kind of, sets precedence for how strong this roster was, and of course, how well they played today's series.
So this comes in. Yeah, tell me, Hib.
I feel like this fight in particular and this sequence of plays was the beginning of the end for Astralis. This is where Dusty were able to pull back. I think it was a 4,000 or 5,000 gold lead at this point. The Baron still definitely set them back a little bit, but then the curb coming around and tidying up the end of the fight was really, really big for them. And, as you'll see, the more and more fights we kind of show, it slowly starts to look like it was more and more Dusty favored. But it took until, 20 minutes for Dusty to finally find a foothold in that game, and that foothold came at the cost of a Baron as well. So it was, it was a very, very tight game from both these teams. And Astralis, they put up one hell of a fight here.
And then we can look into what we were talking at the beginning of the show, the idea that Dusty as a team, when they team fight, the relegators, the team that nobody wanted, that gets together and they know how to team fight and they skill check you every single time. We have a team fight specifically for that, Jamada. I think this was the one. That's how you tie up everything and say, this is Aurora open for us.
Yeah, we'll get the B-roll going. And I mean, it's just Dusty kind of preying on what is effectively just, I don't even know how to phrase it really. It's just Astralis need to get out the lanes eventually. Chrisberg steps too far forward. The ultimate is forced out here by then Voxnay. And I mean, Lintus is just there. And even like small micro things like Barkland EQing to R on the setup, which isn't even his own ultimate, to ensure that he gets the maximum amount of damage out in this combo to lock down these key carries is absolutely nuts for him to be thinking about in a high stakes scenario like this. Senkox effectively, does what he can, but there's not really much else he can do when his other damage carry is already down with the Yumi and the rest of the team has been shredded through. Dusty just had their head screwed on, despite what looked like a first 10 to 15 minutes where their heads weren't screwed on.
Yeah.
And again, I think, I don't want to hark too much, right? Because I think at this point we're here celebrating Dusty, but man, did the games feel difficult to play from the Astralis perspective every single game, because Dusty were putting together these drafts which are so difficult to really navigate around. It just felt like Astralis never had good answers for them, unfortunately, and Dusty were ready time and time again to pick on any minuscule mistake once, at the very least in this game, their comp came online.
3-0 for Dusty ends up Aurora open, but it doesn't end the show. We're going to toss it to a break before we jump into interviews. We'll start with Astralis, then with Dusty, and then we'll wrap up not only Aurora open, but the entire year of NLC. I'll see you soon. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Coming in from Astralis, we have Carlson. Welcome to the interview. Was the third game was something to behold, but I want to look into you on these series where you play the Aatrox. We didn't got to see you play Aatrox that much during Aurora Open. What was the feeling behind playing this champion? I know he's broken. Okay, let's put the label. He's broken, but how did you feel playing him throughout these 3 games?
I mean, been playing him a lot in practice and also played him a lot personally, like throughout my time playing League. So I was quite comfortable with it, even though it wasn't really something that we had shown during the cup.
Yeah, I was looking into your into a match history. And I'm like, well, he plays it, but he never played it competitively. Is he saving it for the last? I mean, second game you did a lot of work. Third one as well, but it always seemed like Dusty were one step ahead of the team. When you joined this game, when you played versus Dusty, what do you believe was the hardest thing to face when you were playing versus that composition?
I felt like we had some good compositions, honestly, but we mostly choked or were kind of unable to perform our best in the games. We were kind of desperate at times or completely miscommunicated or fought the team fights quite wrongly. So, to be honest, I wasn't really scared going into the games, but we fumbled the bag.
Let's be honest. Spring Split was kind of shaky. Summer Split was a lot better. Aurora Open, you guys just popped off. You took down JDXL in an amazing way. It was a beautiful series. When you look into this entire year, coming in as a rookie, I'll just quote because to me you're not a rookie, you're just really talented. What is your big takeaway from this year, Carlson?
I've learned a lot, not only about the game, but also outside of the game, discipline around how I plan out my day and my week, what reviewing and so on. So I feel like I'm on the way better path now than I was at the start of the year, and I know more about myself as well.
That is a good answer, man. That is a good answer. And you're growing up a lot. Everybody sees that, not only in the gameplay and the way you tackled the interviews as well. You're getting the mustache, and I love it. I gotta say, I love it. I love these, so I love that one as well. But I want to ask you something. We're approaching the end of the year, and I'm not asking about what team you're gonna join. I'm not asking about all of that. I don't care about that right now. It's more about what do you believe is your focus as you look into 2023? I know obviously jumping into LEC is a big dream and it's your objective going into roles and all that. But what do you see as your next step as Carlson, the player?
I want to expand champ pool a bit more, learning tanks better, understanding, the roles of tanks in team fights, and then in general map movement, when do I take wave, when do I move to mid, and when do I only frag into mid, and so on. I feel like those are 2 big points for me to improve on.
The last question for you is a specific one that I think I can only ask you of the entire NLC player base. So this is a special one. Every single player that watches NLC or even younger kids and all that looks into the pro player system and like, how can I get there? And when you look at Reckless and other players with a little bit more and more experience, like Senkux, when he starts telling what people should do, obviously he played on LEC and all that, but you are the talent, you're really young, so you are the best representative for the community, for the step between community and pro player. What would you say to someone that would like to be who you are right now, but they can't find their foothold? What is your best advice for those of that are still trying to chase the dream?
I think honestly the thing is to keep pushing. I think something that you benefit a lot from is being high rank. If you're not on a team yet, of course. That's the easiest way to get spotted by better teams if you don't really have any network or any connections. And just keep pushing, I think, is the best thing, because it can get discouraging if you don't really feel like you're moving anywhere level wise, like on teams and competitive, but you still feel like you're improving, then your time will come, and it's different for everybody.
It's different for everybody. Final words for the entire community for the entire year. Carlson, you're representing now Astralis, the entire roster of Astralis. What would you say is your final words before we wrap up the interview?
Thanks for everybody who has been supporting us, even though it has been a very rocky road throughout the year. Yeah, I really appreciated playing with the players I've got to play with and the coaches I've got to work with on Astralis. And they've also, as an org, been great to work with. So I feel like it has still been a pretty good year.
It was a good year. I'm gonna tell you, as a viewer and as a fan of NLC, it was an enjoyment watching you from Spring Split until now. The way you grow as a player and as a person, it is a sight to behold, and you're a really good example for the entire NLC region. So, thank you for being who you are, Carlson, and thanks Astralis for what they provided. Uh, we're gonna toss it to a break. I'll see you
Yep,
soon
I
with the
appreciate it.
next
See you.
interview. No, I'm a big fan of you, man. I'm a big fan.
I appreciate it a lot.
I'll see you guys. From Dusty, the AD carry, the hype man, the one and only, the Voxne. I gotta ask you, okay, straight up from the bats, I gotta ask you, big fan, but Seraphine?
But okay,
that's how you want to end the year?
That's what I was thinking when they lock Yumi. How dare they? It's the last game of the year, and then they lock Yumi, so I have to play Seraphine. Like, what the fuck is this? That's some bullshit right there. That's some bullshit. Like, I can't believe they do that to me.
Of all the Aurora Open, you climbed the entire mountain, only losing a single game versus natives. What is
a disaster?
That was a disaster. What is the feeling behind all of this? Because I gotta be honest, I when you look back, when you look into Spring Splits and the roster that you have right now, the relegated team, you know, the people that nobody wanted, and you look back in Summer Split, you got it. You look at you Masters, you made LFL sweat like animals. It was really close. You got to Aurora Open and you styled on those kids. What does it mean to you looking back and just look at success, success, success?
Yeah, obviously it's like, it's nice because I think like, even for example Aurora Cup, like not everyone shows up with the full lineup or whatever, but it's still just for me. It's just showing up that we're still the best. Like, don't worry. Um, like nothing changed here in NLC. Dusty is still on top. Um, and you get to play, for example, against we never got to play a best of 5 against Riddle. You know, we only played them twice in the regular season, went 1-1. The same, Astralis went 2-0. Wait, no, yeah, no, we went 2-0 against Astralis. But like the last game of the season we played against them had no impact on the standings. So it's like you don't really get this like best of fives, these kind of hype matches, and that's why I want, you know, at least personally, I really want to show, okay, we're still better and we're still good. Um, in terms of like the general success, I'm very happy. I think we could have done considerably more at Masters. I'm very frustrated with how it ended. I think we could have gone further, but it's like every time you learn a little more. And you know, first time I went to Masters, I went out in planes. Then I went out in groups. Now I went out in quarters. Like even though I think we could have gone further, like you learn. It's like how is your mentality going into it? How do you draft? How do you like think of certain preparation and stuff like this? And there's nothing more than to go next and do better.
Yeah. It was a good year. I mean, I totally agree with you. You Masters could have been yours. I think you guys could have won. You Masters just the thing. I believe you so much that you know what I had to wear on my first day at LEC Studios.
Yeah.
I haven't recovered yet. I'm just telling you. That is PTSD for life. So tell me something, the Voxney. When you look into this team, the Dusty team from Summer Split till now, what do you see?
I think it's just huge improvement, and I think it's hard work as well. It's like willingness to adapt. I think it's like we all have our own view on the game, but at the same time, we started out, I think, like not really understanding each other as well, and like adapting to each other's styles. So, for example, we would draft very weird comps where everyone was trying to carry or whatever. Um, but then we started like learning from each other, and like, oh, when we draft this way, we're just playing for mid jungle, or when we draft this way, we're playing for bot lane, or when we draft this way, we're just playing for Kerberos to get fed, or whatever it might be. So I think we all learned a lot, and I think we worked harder probably as well than most other teams to get where we were, and you know that's kind of it, because I don't think anyone besides us predicted we would win, but we just kept working at it, and that's what happens, I think.
I think Dusty are the perfect example right now of going out with the bang. You guys completely demolished NLC, and now we don't know what's going to happen on 2023.
No.
Obviously, we've seen the news of Lynxes going to LFL. Probably
Yeah,
Stan will follow through as well. This family could be, it is breaking up regardless of
yeah,
how you
for
look
sure.
into it. And I'm not asking where you're going to land on anything like that, obviously. I'm just asking if you could say anything to your team that you were able to climb with them on Summer Split, EU Masters, and Aurora Open. What would you say to them on a
Well,
personal level?
like I think just huge shout out to everyone, like in terms of how at least personally, I think how we showed up during uh, officials especially, but also like in scrims, and trying to learn from each other, and also having like confidence in each other and trusting each other, to where we weren't afraid of doing either what we practiced or what we thought was good in the situation. That's probably why you saw us playing a lot more weird stuff than other teams, because no matter what the pick was, we were like, okay, if you think it's good, like obviously we all know the champions. In theory it should be good here, so let's play it. Whatever the case was, and it's like a very good, healthy way of looking at it, and I think that's like that just gives you so much more confidence. Like it gives confidence in me when I say we're playing Aphelios in game 3 of the finals, or when Kerb says we're playing Nasus against the LDLC, or when Backlund says we're picking Set here, or we're picking Vayne top, or like trust me, we're going to Leah jungle, or whatever. It's like it just changes how you see yourself in the game, and that's a very like good quality to have, that I don't think like it's not something everyone has, and it has the, you know, kind of, they don't dare to trust another person with like the game, for example, and I think we did. which is very, very, very good thing.
I think everybody throws this sentence around, but in reality, Dusty were built different in Summer Split. This roster was built different.
Yeah, we were built different. We weren't
And
the
at this
same.
moment, again, we don't know where you're gonna land, but
Yeah.
who's the Voxne looking out to be in 2023?
I think there's nothing really like. Obviously, I want to do well, but I think most of this year I've tried to figure out where my problems lie and where I can improve. And obviously started working on that. But I truly think that I have so much more to work on still. So I hope that 2023 will be the year where I kind of, in some way, like fix a lot of those things I think went wrong this year. And if that can happen, I think I can go really far. I think possibly uh, I can maybe compete a bit more in Masters. That my eyes on the trophy, right? So I think that's where I wanna end up. No matter where I go, it's somewhere where I can work through the problems I have right now, and then hopefully go really far again.
It's your mountain. It's your
Yeah.
mountain, my man. Thank you so much for this interview. You're my last interview of the year for NLC.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure, my man.
It's a pleasure always.
It is. You didn't brought the shirt though. The T-shirt you didn't brought.
No,
No, that's the sweater.
Yeah, but I
That's-
don't have it. As I said, it's lost in Berlin. I literally don't
It's
have it.
I need to find it, guys. We need to make a search team and just find the shirt of Ding Vox there.
Uh,
Man, always a pleasure to talk with you. We're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna toss it to the desk so you can leave right now, the Voxer. But massive props to all you were able to build up and keep being the man you are, man. The hype man, the unwavering AD carry.
Yeah, thank you. And see you next year, probably.
Let's hope so.
Bye.
And we are back. We are done for the year. A lot of feelings.
A lot, yeah. I mean, it's been a weird one actually. I've been on NLC since it's formed, and I was on the UK scene before the NLC. I was on the Nordics for the last season of the Nordics as well, and to kind of see where we're at now versus where we were back then. It's been a hell of a journey. I love now that we have a Winter Cup, and it's like actual it's going to be a thing to stay. Having 3 seasons a year means we don't have as long of an off season because we're about to get into December. Normally by now I'm sweating as a freelancer. I'm sweating because I'm like, what the hell does next year look like? It's like, man, I can't wait for Christmas and just to chill. But yeah, it's been great. I think we've seen a whole lot of things. We've seen new teams join us. We've seen old teams leave us. We've seen new players. We've seen old players. The talent roster has expanded, Archer. Obviously, we've been reunited after like 6-7 years, and actually got to be on a proper broadcast together and not just like a weekend in Portugal. It's been amazing. Like we've seen growth in areas. Not in the right areas though. We still haven't won a U Masters. So I'm just throwing it out there. Until we get there, we haven't hit our max potential yet. And I know this region has the ability to do so because we have been consistently up there now. Ever since the NLC formed, we have been on the map for EU Masters. Is next year our year? I don't know. Those French guys are terrifying. They are really, really scary. But I'm going to remain ever optimistic about the NLC and EU Masters on that front. So maybe Den Voxney will be the guy to lead us to our first EU Masters victory.
Who knows? That would be a good story. That was a good year, yeah. After 6 years and a questionable clip, we're back together.
Oh God!
No, don't talk about that VOD. We don't talk about that VOD. Jamada, long one. I know you want to talk, so don't be shy.
No. I mean,
you don't? Okay, we got to wrap it up.
no. Better wrap it up. No, it's just the end of the year. It's been a fantastic year, all things considered, right? I think for the future of the NLC and for the broadcast as a whole. I'm just glad that I was able to be a part of it, and that's mostly it.
Mostly it. I agree with it. I joined this adventure. It was a really good one, climbing this mountain with all of you. You guys showed me the ropes. I had no idea how to speak English when I joined in, or even how to be a host. I didn't know what a host was.
A lie? I chatted to you years ago. Don't pretend you like. You didn't show up to this. You go, me no English.
And
I know
6 years without speaking English, by the way. I didn't need it anymore.
True.
Like, so that was a situation. Then it was lovely working with you all. We talked with Nyman and Initialize. We say goodbyes as well, but I'm saying it's to everybody who worked with us, every single talent coming in as guests as well for summer split, spring split, even out at our open. We have a lot of casters trying to join in and bringing a lot of talent. All of them are amazing. I'd like to also point out Middle Call, for instance, he has been helping a lot with the casters, doing VOD reviews. All of them mean a lot to NLC, but most of all, you back at home, you watching, you pushing, you constantly chatting and voting and putting the points and all that, just being there with us throughout this entire journey. It was an amazing one. We don't know what's going to happen in 2023. We don't know if this was our last climb, but regardless of that, look at me, man. Keep climbing. Don't give up. Even if it's dark, even if you're alone, keep climbing. Don't lose hope. There's always a sun up there shining by himself, and he never stops. You can be that guy, okay? You don't know what's at the top of the mountain. Keep climbing. I hope to see you soon. Have a lovely year.